Sorry, Dumelang. Good evening. Hellos. Yeah, I hope I'm not going to be long, but I just wanted to talk quick about the concept of ancestors and worship. Guys, I think we put too much pressure in ourselves because of language. I want you to remember that things can be contextualized. Everything can be contextualized. Worship within your context, it's not the same as worship within my context. Because there could be certain ways that you as an individual or you within your bloodline do worship. There could be similarities into the way that as South Africans or as Africans as a whole continent do worship. And in that context, it will never be the same as the Western cultures. It won't be the same. So there's no need to justify. There's no need to justify that you do not worship your ancestors, because what matters is what do you mean by that. I remember telling a friend of mine that we don't worship ancestors. People just don't understand that African people do acknowledge God, and it's not like when they talk to their ancestors, they're worshiping them. But now I'm thinking to myself, what is worship? Because I need to understand what am I saying when I say I do not worship them. What do I mean? What is the definition or the meaning of the word worship to me? And in the context that I find myself, because other people talk about worship as a trait that each one of us have. Someone said that it is a matter of every one of us have that trait of worshiping, of worship, but it's a matter of what. What do you worship? Other people worship money because they see the worth of money. I can worship my ancestors because I can relate to the worth that they have brought into my life and that they keep bringing into my life. Or to worship them in a matter of respecting and honoring their lives and the impact that they had in my life, even if it's not direct, some perhaps based on the whole lineage connectivity. In honoring the genes that I got from them. It depends on your context and then what are you actually saying. Because sometimes, we just live because we are conditioned. It's not all of the time we come back and kind of like, wait a minute, what am I saying? Right? When we are worshiping divine creator, God, you can use words as like you are worthy of my praise. What do you mean when you say you are worthy of my praise? You are worthy for me. I'm saying you are worthy because I recognize that you have done so much for me. And I can have the same thing to my own mother, who if it's still living and breathing, that I feel those same things. I feel that I am grateful to her. I respect and honor everything that she had to do for me. And that does not mean it stops because she dies. It continues. I will always cherish that And because of my own belief systems, that a soul, just because a soul departed the body doesn't mean that soul is dead. Because of my belief system, I continue to honor her, to respect her, to show my gratitude. And showing my gratitude, it's not also about just sitting in your altar. It is also by the act of things that you do to others, continuing the legacy that your ancestors taught you. And same applies to those who worship divine. The act of worship is not about you being at church and saying you are worthy or God should be praised. You need to act it out. You need to do it. Show that this thing is worthy. Whatever it deserves my respect. And how do you show someone that you're respecting them? If your mother taught you do not steal, you will respect her by not stealing. You will respect them. If you honor your parents, you would show them that you honor them, even if they are dead. It doesn't stop. So the context that you are talking about this worship, it's very important, guys. Don't shy away. Let's not shy away as if in like, sometimes like, oh, these whole words that we use of English, they are the ones that sometimes they are confuser, or just make us not really knowing what exactly are we saying here. So just remember that when you're talking about worship, if someone says you, because sometimes for me, I think it came in because of, when you are raised Christian and you've always known, about a God, a singular God, right? And you don't know that there is this God and there is this God, and together I can call them gods, plural, right? I only know of this singular God as the right God, right? Or as the only existence of higher supernatural beings. So it becomes a bit of that learning, and it is that part of a journey where I say you unlearn these things, you experience these things, you keep on learning, evaluating. Tomorrow I can come with new ways, but doesn't mean all the things that I'm learning through my experiences are not right, are not wrong. In this current consciousness of where I'm tuning in, that's how I see things. And I should not be shameful, because you're not and with that thing that the last video I made about seeing my life as shameful. Shame is a very low energy that anyone can find themselves in. You don't want to find yourself at a state of shame. So you need to understand that. You need to understand who you are. You need to understand your context as a person. You need to understand the context of your family. You need to understand the context of your continent. You need to understand the context of your country. Okay? At times when you look into all these things, where you find yourself in contextualizing these things for yourself, you will find similarities. Then you draw your own conclusion, you draw your own meaning, and practice that and do it with clarity and do it with understanding of what you are doing. Don't do it out of not understanding what you mean when you say you are worshiping. Because at times I could be at a worship of gratitude. I can be at a point of worship out of observing the greatness of that which is beyond my own power. And depending on your spiritual beliefs or your believing systems, right? If you believe in the existence of Yeshua, and you believe in the context of Yeshua and just the one and this God, know that there's also nothing wrong with that. As long as you understand your relationship with these deities, with Yeshua, you understand your relationship with God, and you understand that these beings are the beings that you work with in your life of journey, right? So, and let other people also have to come to understand that. Okay, let us hit the wall if what you are doing and if your belief systems are not wrong. Some of us will hit the wall, and maybe next time you will be not spiritual and you are Islam, or you are whatever, or you know. The nice thing about spirituality is that you are not bound into any religion. You understand that the spirit it's not cannot be contained in a box. It is what people would say, God, it's so big yet so small, so big that he is all over in the universe, and yet so small that he dwells within, that the spirit dwells within you. So I'm not a person, and I have been a person who was very judgmental, but I am at a point where now I understand that, there are things that I need to understand what I'm doing with my life. I need to understand my spirit, and I need to understand my spiritual practices, and I need to understand what they mean to me without attaching them to other people. These are my own autonomy. Sorry, there's my own autonomy, my own views, and I know that I have the willpower to do that because my Creator gave me the willpower, not for me to come here for someone to tell me that I cannot honor my father who raised me, or I cannot honor the father who birthed my father, because I'm still grateful. I can be grateful for that being, because without that being, my father would not have existed. And without that being, my father's father's existence, my father's father, my great 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 father's existence, that means this whole circle, it doesn't mean. And this whole thing, and that is why you can never get to know your ancestors' lineage in terms of how big they are, or how far it goes. Because for me, in my own views, they connect to the source energy that when we talk about that it birthed everything. It is all connected. So why should I try to separate it? Why should I try to separate it? because it is vast and it is yet small to sit in here. So that is just a small lesson about worship, and think no, next time I want us to also look into this singular God, and singular gods. And then there are gods, Bazimo, Modimo, Badimo concepts. I want us to understand what we're talking about when we talk to each other. Okay, so you can share your views, your comments on that. What do you think? What's going on in your life of worship? Are you mindful about your worship? Or you just find yourself thinking that you only find yourself worshiping when you are at a point where you are singing only, or you see worship also as an act on your day-to-day life? Because remember, as a spirit child, your spirit life does not revolve around your altars, right? Either it's in a church altar or your home altar or wherever your altar is. Your spirit life, it's a practical thing. It's a practical thing. If we talk about worship, your life should be a worship on its own. You should act on that. So I would like to hear your views on this. What is it on your side? What do you see on your side? What is your context of worship? And that, remember, I've said other people say it's all of us have a trait of worship. However, it's a matter of the what. But on top of the what, I want you to look into the act of it, like acting it, living a worship, living a worthy life, right? Living a respectful and honorable life. And that is coming to say, when people talk about, you cannot go and tell people that you love them when you don't know what is love. So you can't go and say you honor God when you don't know what is that. You cannot go and say God is worthy when you don't know what is worth. So what is it? I really would love to hear what you say about this on comments, so that I can also learn and see where can we improve in terms of this concept and how we relate it mindfully, and that can allow and bring flow in our life, and also can allow a freedom of choice, which is what I was talking when I talk about autonomy. That's it from me, and I will hear from the comments. Good night.